Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this session, part of the automotive workstream we have today. I'm very pleased to introduce you to Nimish Shrivastava, forgive me, who's Senior Director, Product Manager at Qualcomm, and he'll be talking about FIDO biometrics and passkeys for in-vehicle applications. Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. And thanks for being here at late afternoon session. I am, just as a part of Qualcomm, I'm part of product management team in automotive, and I'm heading what's called a connected services platform in Qualcomm. And what I'll talk today about is a little bit about what we are doing in Qualcomm in automotive. And you'll see many of the things that I'll talk about are related to passkeys and in a similar sort of lines as passkeys. We've actually been part of FIDO for a long time, and we've been doing quite a bit of work with FIDO, including the FIDO certification process that you saw before. We were part of that group that talked about, that contributed to device protocols on the FIDO certifications that David was talking about. Let me start by talking a little bit about Qualcomm. Hopefully some of you know Qualcomm. We've been around for a long time. And mostly we have been known as a chip company, a hardware company, especially in mobile sector. But for last quite a few years, more than I would say 10 years, we've been diversifying into many different areas. And automotive is one of the areas that we started a little bit late, but we've grown very fast, in especially last 5 years. We are, and of course, apart from automotive, we have IoT and even compute and other areas that we work in. You may have even seen some of the announcements on AI-based PCs that were launched with Qualcomm chipsets. So, of course, a lot of work in AI and Gen AI, which I'll talk a little bit about in what we are doing in automotive. The three main areas that we are really good at, we believe, is that we have connectivity which is unrivaled. We brought pretty much every Gs, 3G, 4G, 5G to market as a leading company, and we are still are a leader in providing that connectivity. We also have hardware which is high performance, low computing. Now this is very important when it comes to some of the things that we are talking about here, such as the FIDO keys and some of the things in security that become very important. And how can you do that even in a very small IoT device? That's one of the pedigree of Qualcomm. And of course now, lately we have been leading in edge AI. So our CEO, Cristiano, talks about intelligence on the edge, which is the device edge, and also services on the cloud. So we are really growing towards a connected edge, connected intelligent edge in all kinds of verticals. I've kind of listed some of the verticals here. I'll kind of skip over that. But in automotive specifically, we've been around for more than 10 years. In fact, GM's first OnStar service used our telematics to kind of be doing a lot of interesting things within the car. And we have grown. I mean, this is just some of the customers that we work with. I would say that, we work with pretty much every automaker, major automaker in the world. Globally, we have at least some solution in every automaker. That's what I would claim. But I would say at least 90+% automakers work with us in these solutions. We have also, as I was mentioning, that we have diversified, and automotive is the fastest growing area. We have a very strong pipeline that we announced several times in our investment day. So very proud of being part of this team, doing a lot of things. So what do we do in automotive? So we bring hardware, software, and services solution. And a lot of these, especially software and services solution, need some of the things that we have been talking about in FIDO, especially on the device side, but also device cloud and connected services. Some of the examples that David provided was about, not just about in the vehicle, of course, that's very important, but also outside vehicle, what can you do? And I'll talk a little bit about that. We have 4 pillars in Qualcomm Automotive. regarding hardware and software solution, our cockpit solution, which is our infotainment, and in fact, a lot of cars which are coming out, including new GM cars, a lot of cars that you'll see on the road actually use our hardware and software on your infotainment. We, of course, have the connectivity solution, which is our telematics solution. That's been, like I said, we are number one in that, leading, I would say 95% of the automakers use our solution in some program or the other. And then lately, we have also been working on ADAS solution, which is our autonomous driving stack, which is hardware for autonomous driving, software stack, including drive policies, etc. So it's a full solution that we are bringing to the customer. This safety is, again, very important when you relate this to some of the things that David was presenting, right? For your authentication, you need to be able to control or be able to kind of create rules within the car based on who's driving. That's an important area that's growing quite a bit. So I'll talk about my area a little bit, and then you'll see how this is connected to some of the things that we've been talking about today. The area that I had is Connected Services Platform. This is a device and cloud solution that brings a lot of infrastructure within the vehicle that can support things like security, data collection, data upload to the cloud, and cloud services, which are also part of our platform that we provide to customers. And those services on the cloud can drive a lot of different use cases, from personal use cases such as identity and payments that we'll talk about today, to EV charging, to fleet management. These are all different types of solutions that can work on our platform. Now, many of these solutions include a lot of partners. So we are also growing an ecosystem of partners, both on device and cloud side. And especially in the area of identity and payments. We have a couple of our partners here, Dayon and Mavi, that we'll be on panel together, so we'll talk a little bit about ourselves. But this is really important, that especially to grow this area of personalization, which I think is the future, near future of the vehicle and consumer. And this is where a lot of focus of a lot of automakers is going today. There are a lot of technologies which will drive this personalization. One of the key areas for personalization is, of course, identification of the driver, authentication of the driver in the vehicle. There are other areas like Gen AI, which will also drive this personalization, because now you have AI models that can run on the vehicle. You have LLMs that can run on the vehicle. So you can actually have a conversation in the car. But the conversation of the car can result in action which is as good as being authenticated in the car, knowing who you are. So again, huge area that we feel and that FIDO is going to play a strong role in automotive. All this is API-driven solution. So we are trying to create not just the platform, ecosystem of partner, but also trying to create innovation in the car by creating a large set of APIs, which will be not just but our partners' APIs also. Okay. So some solutions here that I would like to talk about. We are bringing EV solutions. This includes, I think David talked about charging, right? Charging as a solution. And charging today is an area which is a great area, because this kind of is getting the consumer involved in the car interaction more than they used to in the normal petrol vehicle or ICE vehicles. But it's also an area where there's a lot of consternation, because there's a lot of mismatch between what user wants to do and what's happening in the charging station. It's not so simple, because there are multiple charging providers, and there's also a lot of different apps that you might have to download for a same car to be charged. So this area is a growing area. Also in charging, you need the data of the car. So we are also bringing that data to the cloud for doing some interesting analytics, but also providing data going from the vehicle to the charging station, and from charging station to the cloud as well, to create new use cases. This is interesting because Qualcomm plays a role not just in automotive, but also in IoT. So we also work with charging station companies, manufacturers, and an ecosystem around that. Fleet management is something that we have been doing for some time. I'll skip over some of these, but identities and payments is really important, and this is a growing area. A lot of automakers are interested in providing personalized payments. This is something that you may have seen some of these launches with Mercedes Pay and other automakers, which have launched recently, but it is still a little bit of a disconnected solution. And as we bring in things like passkeys within the vehicle, with making it very easy for different apps to be connected to a user, that itself will solve a large part of problem that today automakers have. I already talked about Gen AI, generative AI, and new technology. There are specific use cases that you can use the personalization for, which could be tied to, for example, your own data that can be used to do something in the cloud as well. Of course, there's data privacy issues that you have to kind of take care of, but as long as someone has opted into data, you can get even more personalized solutions as long as your data is tied to your identity. So Qualcomm, and this animation is a little weird, but Qualcomm is bringing quite a few different things to enable what I just talked about. And we are working with, of course, FIDO to be able to do a lot more with passkeys. We have something called an ID token. So as passkeys represents passwords for different applications, think of ID token representing the persona of the user in the car. That can be tied to different type of data, their own personalization within the car, outside the car. Plus, of course, those FIDO keys could also be part of that token or that object. This is the way we are thinking about it. We are still kind of, I know that we are still going through what we would like to do in the FIDO Alliance for automotive as standards. But think of this as where each driver being represented by their own personalization, and I've given some examples that you could have packages within the vehicle that could be tied to the user. So what I like in the car versus if my daughter is driving the car could be very different. Right? So this is what that's representing on the left side. And it could even be a passenger, my friend driving my car, or my friend being a passenger in the car. So how do you kind of accommodate all those things within the car, bringing different types of interesting content within the car and outside the car? A very sort of forward-looking example, and this is tied to our friends at Mavi. What they're doing on payment, etc., is that suppose you have you're driving the car, your friend is driving the car, and you want to order something together. So how do you order something together, or how do you order something separately with maybe two wallets? How do you kind of recognize both the passenger and the driver, authenticate them, and be able to invoke their wallet? If it's one wallet, can you also go further and split the payment? So all these use cases become very interesting within the vehicle. And this is something that people do all the time, but they do use their phones or they use other methodologies which are much more cumbersome. Apart from the ID token, we are also bringing some of the data pre-processing within the device itself. This ties into some of the things that you've kind of seen on how do you bring the security in the vehicle, in the device. So this could even be things like liveliness. Some of those things could be done within the device itself. We are bringing pre-certified partner ecosystem. I just talked about Dayon and Mavi. And besides that, we talked about FDO, so we bring secure device attestation. We have a very secure storage, so if you want to store things like identity tokens or other type of tokens or other data securely within the vehicle, we bring that solution from our hardware level. And we are tying all this to now Gen AI experience, meaning that today the same example that I was talking about, that if you're driving the car, you want to use the wallet, you want to be authenticated, you could drive that through your voice, where you could talk to the car and say that, we want to order, fries and Shake Shack's chicken sandwich, let's say, and that could be completed via the authenticated token that's there, tied to the wallet, personalized wallet. All that could take place behind the scene. So this is really powerful mechanism that we are starting to see this in the industry, but we are driving a lot of this with the automakers. So this kind of gives you a little bit of view of how we look at our different layers within the chipset and the software. We have a trust management engine. On top of this is a trusted execution environment. This basically denotes the security that we are bringing within the hardware that can really be leveraged for FIDO, can be leveraged for the identity token that I was talking about, any payment network tokens which can be stored in this area. I won't go through this whole thing, but that's the key thing that we are kind of bringing in our hardware. I guess I'll keep going, and maybe questions are at the end, or should I? Okay. I feel like I'm just talking and talking. Okay. So we talked about biometrics platform. We work with Dayon, for example. Dayon is a identity management company which has biometrics, registration, authentication, identification. And we are working with them on integrating that into our platform. So part of what we are bringing to the customer, and this is part of what we also are discussing on the FIDO side as well, is how do we bring many of these technologies into the vehicle, pre-integrated into our chipset or our software above chipset, so that we can deploy this at scale and deploy this quickly at the automakers. This not only ties into the vehicle that I'm showing on the top, this also ties into, like I said, other IoT devices. So imagine that you go into a McDonald's or a Shake Shack, I don't know if they have drive-thrus, but let's say you go through a drive-thru, and as you come to the drive-thru, the kiosk which you have where the menu is automatically gets personalized for you because you are near the kiosk. And the token that you have, your payment token, may already be exchanged to this kiosk because you've been authenticated. There are in fact some people who are doing authentication from the kiosk itself as well. So you have kind of many different ways you can get authenticated during your transaction. So you could be having personalized wallet, personalized interaction with the menu, and be able to order exactly what you want. Maybe your favorites also show up there for personalization. And they can show up in the car. In fact, we are doing a demo that Mavi is driving where you can see your personalized menu within the car and personalized, the restaurants that you like within the map. So there's a lot of things which are built around this personalization. But again, what is driving all this is the underlying, identity technology, the authentication mechanisms, and that's where we need to really drive the standards with FIDO. So this is what I was talking about, that this is what we are bringing as an ecosystem play, which is that we are bringing each user being represented by an anonymous token, which is tied to, let's say, passkeys, which is tied to your personalization parameters, your other types of loyalty programs, etc. All that can be tied into one place, securely stored in the vehicle. And we are bringing standardized APIs, so that we can grow this ecosystem. More developers can come and work with us in this area. And this drives inside the car, interactions such as payment within the car, but also outside the car into retail, QSRs, and charging and fuel and parking. So this is I want to bring this side because in charging, there's interesting use cases, which is not just about payment. Today, a lot of automakers, what they're doing is they're having credit card on file, and they have certificates that come into the vehicle and into the charging station that can be exchanged. So this is making the payment a little bit seamless. If you have a car and you have a charging station which has been certified by the automaker, you likely don't have to pull out your credit card, right? But that's not true for all charging stations. That's also not true for cars which are rented cars. Suppose you rented a car, then it's a rental company that has that association. So how do you bring your personalized wallet in a charging station? This again goes back to all the layers that we are talking about, the FIDO-based authentication standards, also the personalized wallet, the authentication and through the biometrics. Also, even today, when you talk about certificate within the car, it's not personalized, it's tied to a car. So what happens is, if there is a certificate in the car, I'm driving my friend's car, when I go to the charging station, I won't be able to use my wallet. I'll always use my friend's wallet to charge. So again, there are a lot of these type of disconnected areas that we believe can be much better experiences within the car. We're also bringing hardware that connects to the charging station and the ISO stack, the standard that is used for the communication between the car and the charging station. So I wanted to give you a little bit of view of what Qualcomm is doing, how that ties into some of the areas that you've been listening to in this conference, and wanted to kind of give you a picture of how we can together as a partnering together can grow this area of personalized experiences within the vehicle with Qualcomm. Okay. I just want to leave you with this, because this is truly an ecosystem story. We work with the global ecosystem and we welcome a lot of partners.
Do we have any questions? I didn't see any online, but if anybody has questions for Nimish. Yeah. If not, we'll take a short break. Oh yeah, we do. Please, would you come take the microphone. Sorry, exercise is mandatory in this case.
Bjorn Yubico. Two questions. There is a reference to V2X.
Yes.
Can you expand on where that fits into what you're proposing right here? The second question is, there was a mention of a wallet. Can you expand on what you mean by that in terms of, in this context?
Sure. What was the question on V2X again?
So it was a reference to V2X. And
Okay.
so I'm curious if that is just outside the scope of this topic, or if it's part of this conversation.
Yes. No, absolutely is part of this conversation. V2X is part of the vehicle to...
I know.
Okay, so your question is about how...
Well, the question is how, so V2X is standardized somewhere else.
Yes.
And so I'm curious to figure out, there's an impact to V2X based on what you're talking about here, or is that just part of the overall solution or equation that how this would all work together?
So let's talk about what V2X is, right? So from our perspective, V2X has a couple of different parts, right? One is the communication itself, the communication protocol between vehicle to vehicle or vehicle to infrastructure. The second part of it is what goes on that communication channel. What is the standard that's today? There's a very large standard that's been already provided by V2X. There are many fields in that standard that can be utilized and leveraged for some of the things that we are talking about. Some of the tokens that we are talking about can be pushed from vehicle to vehicle and vehicle to infrastructure. So in fact, when we talk about some of the, charging station is a bad example because you actually use a cable, but similar type of things, you could use V2X as the communication channel and build the standard, take the standard that we are looking at on FIDO side, and what already does happen on the FDO side, all that can be certainly driven through that channel as well. And we absolutely think that payments and other things would be part of that V2X, part of V2X solution in some use cases. Not in every use case. V2X was originally designed to be a safety, based standard, but it has a lot of other features as well that can be leveraged. Does that answer your first question? Second question was on what is wallet, when we talk about the wallet. Oh, in the context of V2X. Of this. So the wallet, why wallet is being brought into why we are talking about the wallet is that you can have a wallet where you can log into the car, right? You can bring a wallet application, you can log into the car, and you have the same problem that you do in any other device. That how do you do that and have a seamless experience? To have that seamless experience, you have to tie that wallet passkeys at a minimum, right? The passkeys to the wallet. So that's one alignment that I'm assuming that's aligned with what you're thinking. The second is that how do you do that with also other types of things? So the key that we are bringing is the key that can tie wallet, passkeys, and other personalized data together, and that's how wallet comes into picture. Does that answer your question? Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.